Okay, we're going to check the volume real quick, make sure we have liftoff here. Make sure we have liftoff here. Okay, looks like we're doing all right. Beautiful. We'll just drop this down and drop this down a little bit. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. Pretty psyched up. Today is Monday. It's a wet, rainy Monday here in Miami, but got plenty of things going on. Looking forward to sharing with some tidbits with you folks. So let me know in the comments as you hop on where you're coming in from. Let me know if you've got, you know, what state you're from, and also what submarket you're from. That'd be very helpful. Help me kind of put these things into context for you folks. So some folks are hopping on. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are able to, go ahead and smash the like button and also the heart button if you can. What that does is it tells Facebook that there are people on, they're watching, they're excited, ready to, and what it does is spreads it out to other people so that we can get more folks on here and we can spread the word as far and wide as possible. So let's go ahead and see how many folks we can get on here, because that would be super helpful. And people are still piling on. So, and then meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, anything that's burning that you want to know about, go ahead and type that in the comments as well. We can certainly answer those as we go along. So lots going on today, lots going on. The market is absolutely on fire. Wow. Calls just don't stop coming. Today's one of the busiest days I've had in a while. It's just listings that sat kind of dormant for a while just came back to life, and there's a lot of activity going on. Let me know what you guys are seeing out when you're in your neck of the woods. One thing that's I found interesting is that a lot of the residential folks I speak to are having the very same kind of feedback in terms of just, wow, it's amazing how many people are trying to buy houses at the same time simultaneously. It's absolutely nuts. So unfortunately, 10 buyers for every house is kind of wreaked havoc on the brokerage community. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about today is, you know, you always have to, just like the Marines do, right? They improvise, adapt, and overcome. The idea is, okay, how do we survive and even thrive in this market? So I'm going to give you some ideas in terms of what ways to kind of look, you know, beyond what's going on right now, and kind of hopefully see around the corner and see what you can do to help yourself, you know, improvise, adapt, and overcome this market here. So, and okay, so we're going to go ahead and hop right on into it. So let me just pull up the, okay, let me go ahead and pull this up here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to play this from the beginning. Okay. Oops, hang on. Wrong screen. Hey, when that happens. Okay, let's go with that. And then let's go with that. Okay, perfect. All right, so today's presentation is going to be on the perfect storm that is brewing for realtors and commercial brokerage and how to navigate it to win big, right? Attention, everybody. This is something you're going to want to pay attention to, okay? Do me a favor and let me know if any of these items sound a little bit familiar, right? I imagine just about everything you're going to see is going to sound really familiar. So we're going to talk about some of the things that have happened over the last year, and then more importantly, we're going to talk about some of the causes and effects of what has happened, right? So for instance, pandemic hit, interest rates dropped, houses became more affordable, right? With a lower interest rate, for the same amount of money, people can buy more house. So what does that mean? A whole bunch of people that couldn't afford houses before because interest was so low came into the market. Now, what happens is buyers flood into the market, Inventory levels dropped precipitously. In fact, in my home state of Florida here, we have 39% reduction in the amount of people, the amount of inventory over the last 12 months, right? And as a result, you rush all these buyers into place and creates a buying frenzy. What happens? Whew, prices go through the roof. I'm not telling you folks anything that you haven't already experienced firsthand. Now, being that I, was in commercial real estate, last kind of market downturn we had, 06, 07, 08, so on and so forth, right? We saw certain things, certain patterns and trends, and these are just kind of based on economic principles of just kind of what happens, when you have booms, busts, contractions, so forth, right? And what happens is the agents can't get buyers into homes due to competition. That's what's happening right now, right? So what winds up happening is buyers are getting priced out of the market as people are paying $50,000 over ask, $70,000 over ask, $100,000 over ask. I had someone tell me recently they had someone pay $200,000 over ask on a $550,000 property. It's just silly, we are in the middle of like auction mentality buyer frenzy. So, but what's going to happen is it's going to price a certain amount of people out of the market, and the market's going to wind up cooling. It has to, right? When the market cools, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now, agents are going to start making less money. Some agents won't be able to make enough money, and then what's going to wind up happening is the brokerages are going to suffer. Okay, so now we, as I mentioned, are in the middle of this perfect storm. Okay, so the question is, how do you navigate the waters in the middle of a storm? So now that we obviously talked about what happens on the residential side, let's talk about what's happening on the commercial side. Okay, the pandemic hit, commercial investors retreated, right? Stores and restaurant locations suffer and close. Commercial vacancy levels skyrocket, right? People start working from home, right? Because they can't go out in public. Offices, buildings are closed down. Retail locations are closed down. Restaurants are closed down. People are just running for the hills, right? This is all obviously over the last 12, 14 months. People were laid off from jobs, stopped paying rent. They don't have money to pay. So, and most Americans are very close to, only a few months from bankruptcy. They don't have that much in savings, right? And then what as a result, commercial property owners and investors suffered, right? So now let's talk about cause and effect, right? The effect of this is opportunity is knocking. So on one side of the coin, you have it's tougher and tougher to put people into houses. On the other side of the coin, you have all these people left all these buildings, and now the economy is starting to open up again. Guess what? There is an almost, I don't want to say endless supply, but there's a huge supply of opportunity to get buildings full again, to help get office buildings filled again, to repurpose them. There's going to be so many people that aren't going to go back to the way life was pre-pandemic. So now we still have these buildings, and we still have people that have mortgage payments and still have rates of return that they want to make on these buildings. We got to help them get full again. That's where we come in. Okay, so opportunity is knocking. So now, but I've noticed there's kind of a trend, and some of these beliefs are accurate, some of them are exaggerated and so forth. But in doing what I do, in working with residential agents, basically my core competency is helping residential agents learn how to sell commercial properties, right? And so in doing so, I speak to, the Facebook group is over 1,000 people at this point, and I speak to hundreds of residential agents a year, and we have this very similar conversation, and across 5 different time zones rather, we hear the same things, right? A lot of agents think that it's too hard, okay? A lot of commercial brokers, from their perception, don't want to help. And I can tell you that's oftentimes very accurate, right? Commercial brokers don't want to share their knowledge, okay? Commercial brokers only want them to refer any opportunities they have over to them. They say, listen, here, I'll pay you 20, 25%, but just I'll handle it. They don't want to kind of show them how the deal is done, right? They oftentimes complain that the reason why they don't learn more about commercial is that there's no place to learn, no resources available, right? Some people think that you have to work for a commercial company in order to be able to transact on the commercial side. And a lot of people think it'll just take entirely too long to learn the skills necessary to be able to close those deals, right? So what I would like to show you in today's training is that the benefits of adding just a few commercial transactions can have a major impact on your brokerage business and your lifestyle. And you do that by adding commercial brokerage to your skill set. I also want to show you the only way for you to close more commercial properties quickly is through a proven plan with the right tools and the right guidance. And finally, I'm going to show you exactly how we bridge the gap between the residential side of things and the commercial side by learning commercial foundations, understanding valuation, and why you need to build a solid investor list. So who's that guy? That's me. My name is Christian Peter, CCIM. And I don't ask you to just take my word for all this, right? You know, why should you be listening to me, right? If you can see this picture, I can zoom in for you for a second, but there's a reason why I have such a big smile on my face, right? I want to show you that this isn't just practice, okay? What I'm holding right there is a wire transfer, okay? And it's for one transaction that I did back in 2019 in one day for one building I sold. And it was a single transaction for $178,000. Actually, they shorted me $650, so they wound up making it up for it. But it was $178,650 for one transaction. Now, I'm not showing you this to brag. The point is I want to open your mind to what the possibilities are in commercial, right? And this isn't even representative of what, you know, there's a lot of people making way more per transaction on that. But I want to show you what is available out there for everybody, okay? Now, a little bit about my background. I'm the owner of Dark Horse Commercial Real Estate Brokerage. I have my CCIM designation, which is kind of like the PhD for commercial real estate. It's, in a nutshell, it's a designation which stands for Certified Commercial Investment Member, and it's a high level of finance for investment real estate, right? I spent 10 years as a property manager, managing office and industrial parks. I have a 4-year degree in entrepreneurship and small business management. Along the way, I got my New Jersey Master Plumber's license, as well as my Florida Electrical Contractor's license. And finally, I am second generation from a commercial real estate development family. So to say I live, breathe, and eat this stuff and sleep this stuff, this is me. This is what I've done my entire life. So before we get started with what we're about to discuss, right, it is not my intent to talk badly about residential real estate whatsoever. But all I really want to do is just compare and contrast the differences between residential and commercial and give you an idea of what adding commercial to your practice and how it can greatly impact your brokerage and that of you and your family. So most people ask, well, why should I learn commercial brokerage? And the two answers that come up over and over and over again are either to make more money or to have more time. And have more time to do the things you love, spend it with your family, do the things you enjoy, or have more money that'll allow you to do more of those things. Pretty simple. But what I'd like to do is, like I mentioned, I speak to residential agents all day, every day. And what I'd like to do is kind of show some things some themes that keep coming up with regard to, so we can compare and we can contrast the two disciplines, right? So the very first one, the one that's most obvious to most people is, or it keeps coming up the most, right, is the expectation of clients, right? On the residential side of things, the expectation is that you are just available 24/7, right? 10 o'clock on a weeknight, no problem. 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, no problem. They expect that if they send you a text, you're going to jump or call you at those absurd hours. Whereas on the commercial side, we do not see that, right? Being that commercial is more business to business, so a lot of those business owners and investors, they handle their business during business hours. You know, so 9 to 5, Monday through Friday is really the kind of generally accepted principle, right? Generally accepted kind of time to do business. I can just, as an anecdote, I can count in 18 years, I can count on 2 hands how many times I've done a showing on a weekend, all right? So residential, you tend to do more transactions than the average commercial broker, average residential versus average commercial, whereas on the commercial side, we do fewer, okay? The commissions on the residential side, because of the price points of the properties tend to be smaller, and because of the commercial properties, the price points tend to be larger, and we'll get into how those commercial commissions are earned, right? Residential, we have more emotional clients, okay? So what you're dealing with when you're dealing with purchasing a house, some people that's going to be their forever home. Some people, it's going to be the home that they retire to. Some people are buying their dream house. So you can imagine it's a very, very personal decision. So what winds up happening is you wind up being a lot of emotions involved. They have to fall in love with it. Whereas on the commercial side, the clients tend to be more business oriented. You know, they're facts and figures, numbers, and so on and so forth. You don't get nearly the same amount of action, or I should say of business mind, or the people are more business minded because you're not dealing with the emotion that you do on a residential purchase, right? Okay, and again, because you're making an emotional, it's a personal decision. A lot of the decision making is oftentimes very emotion based. It's very feeling based, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the next one. Okay, so shorter deal cycles on the residential side versus the commercial side. The longer deal cycles are going to be because it takes longer to do inspections and it takes longer to have financial clearing and so forth. Whereas on the residential side, we're going to have a whole lot shorter deals. It's not uncommon for someone to have 30 or 45 days to close a residential transaction, whereas in commercial, you know, it might be, you know, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days from beginning to end. And due to the fact that the expectation is that people, you know, have to be available 24/7, you have less weekends off. It's just that simple. And on the commercial side, you also have more weekends off. And there's less money on average versus more money on average. And we're going to get into those commercial price points in just a second. Okay, so now mind you, everything you're going to see is fact-based. This all comes from the National Association of Realtors. These are all facts and figures, okay? This is not opinions. The average commercial realtor makes $85,000 annually versus $39,300 for residential realtors. Now, this is according to the NAR survey of its own members, okay? And you must belong to NAR to be a realtor, okay? Now, mind you, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports an average income of about $44,000 for real estate agents. But at the bottom is what's most important. Most sources indicate commercial real estate agents earn around $85,000 annually. So this is a second source that corroborates that same annual earnings. Okay. Other thing I want to point out here is National Association of Realtors commercial member profile shows that commercial agents have a median. Commercial sales agents have a median gross income of $153,000, and leasing agents have a median gross income of $134,000. And the average commercial transaction size across the nation, according to the NAR, is about 1.6 million. So what's interesting about that is that we tend to see we tend to see a 1.6 million, and we're going to get into how the pricing is done here, right? And I just want to draw a comparison that the U.S. median home price is about $340,000, right? So keep in mind, these numbers as we go through. Now, if you take a look at it, right, this is how commercial commissions are earned. In most states, the commercial commission structure mimics the residential structure up to about $5 million. Above $5 million, it starts breaking down a little bit, 7, 8, 9 million. It's not going to be the same as residential. But as an example, like we saw with the NAR just a second ago, the average commercial transaction across the United States is 1.6 million, right? A 6% fee on that will be $96,000. Total commission per side would be $48,000, so 3% of of $1.6 million. Okay. Now, if you were to look at, comparing residential to commercial, or comparing and contrasting, right? What you would find is that the median sale price, according to the data we saw before, is $340,000 for a residential home, right? You take 3% of that, you're going to get about $10,200. The mean average price is $1.6 million for commercial. Multiply that by 3, and you're going to get $48,000. So the comparison I want to show you is that it takes almost, on average, 5 houses to equal 1 commercial sale. Okay, so what does that mean in big picture, right? It means you can do a whole lot less transactions and make the same amount of money, right? As if you're selling the average size home, average size commercial transaction, you have to sell 5 to equal 1 of the other, right? So one thing I recommend is that you learn how to do it so that you can kind of have a better, more control and more balance. And we'll get to that in just a second. But how do we do this, right? We look at what I call the bridge method. And what that is that, there's a bridge between the land of residential and land of commercial. And there's 8 steps along that bridge. Incidentally, and it's 8 skills that it takes in order for you to close a commercial transaction, right? But what's nice about it is that residential agents already know 5 of those 8 skills that are necessary. And here's what I mean. You already know where to find leads, right? You already know how to follow up. You already know how to write up contracts. You already know how to coordinate inspections. And you already know how to close transactions and get paid, right? So there, in essence, there's only 3 skills that are needed in order to plug you in so you can bridge that gap from residential to commercial. Okay, so what does that look like? You need a solid foundation in commercial and a game plan to how to implement that foundation. Then you need to be able to understand valuing of properties, right? You ask $22 for a $20 bill, you're never going to get it. Also, you need to understand how to source buyers and sellers. In commercial, or rather in residential, everyone walking down the street needs a roof over their head, right? So everyone you speak to at the grocery store, anywhere you go, is a potential client. In commercial, you need to find where they are. You need to find the places where they are, because they're not just walking the street. They're a much, much slimmer niche of the market. So here's what I recommend, right? Do not abandon what's already working for you. But here's what I would throw out there, right? What if you or your agents, if you're the owner of a brokerage, just added a couple commercial transactions a year? What if by offsetting that income, they could choose the clients they work with? So for this example, right? Let's say you make $100,000 a year, right? Or let's say one of your agents makes $100,000 a year. Let's say you picked up, an extra $30,000 from a commercial transaction. Then you'd have to sell less residential properties to make the same amount of money, right? Or you could be choosier with the clients that you do work with. And here's what I mean. What I have found, and tell me if you folks agree, that if 80% of your headaches come from 20% of your clients. If you guys agree with me, if you're following along, type 80-20 in the comments for me, would you? Because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, right? And what happens is, with that 80-20 rule, okay, we found that if you could just get rid of those 1 out of 5 folks that are causing you all the headaches, your life would be significantly better. So what if you could either not take on those headache clients or fire those headache clients that make your business so stressful? How much more would you enjoy your work? A lot of people jokingly say, this business would be great if it wasn't for the people. Ha ha ha, right? But realistically, what it looks like to me, at least, is that, if we could just take a few of the people that make the job kind of a little bit more stressful, take them out of the equation, this would be a really great business to be a part of, right? So my recommendation is learn how to sell those 1, 2, 3 opportunities that come your way, pick those up, add those onto the stack, and then be a little bit pickier with the residential clients that you keep, that you work with. And that way you can really have the best of both worlds, okay? And that's really what I recommend at the end of the day. We have a 6-month training program that we're doing that are partnering with Realty World now. And so, and we show folks how to do this. We help residential agents learn how to sell commercial, okay? This training program, we have this awesome new promotion. It's starting a week from Wednesday, so it's July the 7th. And it continues from a week from Wednesday until the end of the year. And I'd be happy to share more details with you. But basically, it's a 26-week curriculum where we take you step by step through the sales process, the leasing process, the prospecting process, marketing, how to put yourself out there, how to brand yourself, all the foundations, different property types, and all these things, so that when you get done at the end of that 6-month curriculum, you have the skills, you have the knowledge and the confidence to be able to close commercial transactions if you haven't already closed them during that 6-month process. What we've typically found is students by just shy of the 2-month mark. If you're showing up every week, you're applying this stuff and you're putting it into your work, you're implementing it on a daily basis, around the 2-month mark, you can start seeing traction. What does traction mean? It means close your first lease listing. It could be you have your first sale listing. It means maybe you have your first buyer representation under contract, right? Or maybe you get your first first listing, but you might get your first listing, but you won't necessarily close it in the 2-month mark. But it's absolutely possible to have any of those 3 items happen within the first 60 days of you getting involved, learning, and implementing. So if any of you folks want to learn more about this, go ahead and tag it down below in the comments, I do, and then we'll go ahead and reach out to you and give you some more details. We'll hop on the phone and see how we might be able to help you. In the meantime, folks, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here, and you have an excellent day. Talk to you soon.